Welcome back to the Wizard Shop. We're going to check out this really sweet Ferrari. Let's get started.
Wizard, you're kind of towering out of this frame here. You're too big.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, Daniel. Is that better?
Yes.
There we go. This is actually Eurasian Bob's. I think it's a 1985 Agostini replica of, what is it, Daniel? A Mondial?
Ferrari Mondial, yeah.
It's a $10,000 rich kid's toy. It's even gas powered. We're going to do a video on it later. It just showed up. Wanted to show you guys around it real quick, but I don't even think we can fit it on the lift.
No, too small.
I think it'll fall off.
It'll fall off.
It probably will. This thing is so tiny. Let's take a quick look around it, and then we're going to look at a real Ferrari, a full-size one. It does look like a real car, though, doesn't it, Daniel? If you were to stage this just right, it would look like a real Mondial.
Yeah, I think so.
You can see it says Agostini Auto Jr., where the Ferrari emblem normally would be. This thing actually has working lights, doesn't it?
Yeah, it has working lights. Even has some wheels. They're covers, but they look like the real wheels.
They do. They look real. It has the Ferrari badges on the side. Why don't you do a quick interior review, Mrs. Wizard?
Okay, well, we have the seat bottoms, the seat tops, a little gear shifter, some pedals, and some buttons. There you go.
One thing you'll notice, you guys, is real gauges. They really work, RPM and I think speed. And look at that, it's an authentic, real Momo steering wheel. It's not a reproduction. It came this way with the real Momo steering wheel. So that really is still a gated shifter. It's just only forward and back.
Yeah, one gate, well, two gates.
It just has one movement, but it's one gate. It is a gated shifter. It still is a gated shifter. That's cool. It did come in with some issues with the engine and some other issues. We're just letting you guys take a quick peek at this. It's kind of a funny little thing to let you see it before we jump into the real car. There will be some videos coming up with this. Eurasian Bob is going to resell this. We're going to get it running and fix it up for him. It's going to be really, really sweet. Let's head on over to the real Ferrari. You guys have seen this in the background in the past few videos, and Daniel has already started diving in. It's a 1988 Ferrari Testarossa. And this one has how many miles?
6,000 miles.
6,000 original miles. Unfortunately, the owner has a very busy life. They have a lot of things going on, and this thing has been sitting for a while. He brought it in for, what was it?
Fuel leak.
Just a fuel leak, yeah. Only a fuel leak. That's all it was. And it's very likely going to be 20 grand or more to go through this car, which it deserves it. It is amazing, and you guys can probably hear the wind outside. It's very windy today. Not everybody gets to even stand next to a Testarossa, so we're going to give you guys a sneak peek. What does it look like? What's underneath the front trunk or frunk? What does it look like in the engine? What kind of engine does it have? And how far are we going to have to go with this thing? So let's go ahead and take a look around this thing. So there's the front of this beautiful Testarossa. You can see it has a vent under the driver's driving lights there, but not on the passenger side. And the symbol there should be chrome, shouldn't it, Daniel?
Yeah, it should be.
These have been gold plated or painted or something at some point in the past. We'll go ahead and move over to the side and give you guys the glory shot. It's got the side strakes. So many cars try to copy this, don't they, Daniel?
Yeah, they do. It's just kind of a timeless design for these cars.
This is the real deal, the beginning really of side strakes being so freaking cool. It's amazing. We do have the center caps off the wheels. Daniel's actually had this on the lift and had the calipers off. We'll show you guys that here in a little bit. As we come around to the back, you can see this thing is really wide. It is a wide boy. You can see it says Testarossa and Ferrari, and also the prancing horse emblem. Should also all be chrome. But it was really cool in the 80s to have the gold, and it was really something stylish at that time. And there you get another glory shot of the side strakes and side view of a Testarossa. Absolutely beautiful car. Let's jump under the frunk. We'll get it open and have Daniel's son give us a tour around the frunk. What is that over there?
That is the CD changer, I believe.
CD changer. Has some bags, some storage things. There's a little leather bound book, some belts. And what do we have here showing?
So this is actually the fuse box. So if you look in here, you'll see all the relays and the fuses up here. This is a very common failure for these cars. They actually rebuild these, you can get them rebuilt and replace them, which is nice. But yeah, very common failure for these cars.
So that's kind of like the 308. They have issues where like the plastic melts.
Yes, it's like a trace board behind it, and those traces just burn off, and you start losing things like fuel pumps and stuff like that. And then you get a new one. They use better materials, more modern, and it just works.
There's some things up front here, right between the headlights. I can see.
Yeah, you got some horns in there.
Horns and what was that, washer fluid reservoir or something?
That's where you fill it up.
Yeah. Very, very cool.
This is your air pump right here.
Powers the 2 air horns there. And Ferraris typically have the high-pitched meep meep.
Yep.
Yeah.
the horn doesn't fit the car, honestly.
No, they never do. All right, that's what's under the front lid. There's a fuse box, some storage areas, not a whole lot going on there really. Let's go to the business end under the rear hood, bonnet or trunk or whatever you want to call it.
Hey everybody, I'm sorry to interrupt the Wizards video. It'll only take you about 30 seconds, but I have another batch of part works from the Wizards collection of used car parts. You want to check the link in the description below to go to that eBay auction. Information's down there as well because it's only going to be on for a few days. But if you look here, hey, Audi A6 that we had a video on a while ago, the water pump, turbo from it. This is a transmission valve body that I filled in with colored resin that can sit on your tabletop. Shift boot from the Lotus that we've got a light attached to. It won't light up your room by any means, but this is one hell of a light bulb, don't you think? Nonetheless, I promise, 30 seconds of your life, we are now back to his video. Thanks, see ya.
So unlike most people would think it has a V12, a V6, a V8, inline, none of those. It's just like a Volkswagen Beetle, flat 12. You guys ever seen one of those? Now you will. Oof. Like a Subaru, Danielson.
Yeah, Ferrari actually calls this a 180-degree V12 for some reason. They say it's because they share the pin on the crank. They share 2 connecting rods. So for that reason, they call it a 180-degree V12, which me personally, I don't see it.
Yeah, it's basically a flat 12.
It is.
We do have some things apart on it already, but you've done these already, had a few of these already apart and done before, huh?
Yes, so some Testarossas, the engine comes out the bottom, and then others, the later models, the engine comes out the top, so I've done them both.
Right. And as you can see, it has Bosch KE Jetronic, and there's actually 2 of them up here, where most cars just have one of the airflow meters. This has twin, which one for each side of the engine. This entire system, because it sat so long, has been compromised, unfortunately. So what did you find when we were looking this over with the whole fuel system?
So just because it's been sitting for so long, the plungers, the internal mechanic stuff in these distributors are actually stuck. So it's not metering the fuel correctly, since diesel, they work strictly out of fuel pressure.
And these that look like ignition distributors, they're actually fuel distributors. They're not for ignition, they're for fuel. And there's little seals and gaskets and things in there that goes bad and it causes it to clog up.
Yep. And then if you look right here, all these little lines go to the injectors.
Yep.
So those are literally just your, individual lines going to individual injectors, and you have 12 of them in total.
When we did put power to the fuel pumps, Danielson was checking it out, we found the fuel leak. It's actually the accumulators. And this is right here. There's one on each side, and actually the diaphragm or the body where it's crimped together was just pouring fuel out of it. Right on the sides there. And it just goes right along with any of the Bosch Jetronic systems. When they sit a long time, everything goes bad. Over the years, any system I've worked with, whether it be a Porsche 928 or Volkswagen Jetta or anything that used the old Jetronic system, whenever they go bad, it sits a long time. You don't just piecemeal one little piece here or one little piece there. It's a wholesale system replacement. You got the accumulators, the filters, the pumps, the fuel distributors, warm-up regulator, cold start valves, all those things are going to be bad. And on this nice of a car, you don't just piecemeal, well, I'll just try this and hopefully that'll work. That's not what we do on one of these cars. We're going to do everything right. Danielson's going to be pulling the entire motor, and it comes out the bottom on this one, correct?
It does.
Okay, everything comes out the bottom. We're just going to go through it and do it right. The customer's okayed everything already. I've told him It could be 20 grand or more. He says, I understand. I want it to be right. Go ahead and go for it. One interesting thing I saw here is the clutch is right here, isn't it?
Yeah, like the 355 is easy to get to.
So where's the transmission on this one?
It's actually underneath the engine.
So they share oil, it's the same altogether?
They don't really share oil, but yeah, they are, you know, the transmission is right underneath, and it connects via a set of cogs right there behind the bell housing. So if you look right here, you'll see this section of the transmission or the clutch bell housing, and there's a set of cogs in there that connect the transmission to the engine.
Very cool. So the power goes through the clutch, down, and then underneath the engine.
Yes.
Where the transmission is, where our transaxle actually. It's a very simple setup and it works so well. I don't know why Cadillac or GM or all those companies didn't use something similar. They used a chain driven into a normal. This is much better. This obviously works very well. Then we have our exhaust here in the back, which is just stock. Everything's stock. The sound it's going to have when it starts will be the same. So you might think, how's the bill going to be that high? Obviously, the timing belts are as old as however long it's been sitting, and that's something that's done when you have the engine out, right?
Yes.
Timing belt, water pump, all the belts, hoses, lines, the entire fuel system. Then you've got the brakes apart, which we'll show here in a minute. Those were completely seized solid when it came in, all four of them. You actually had to get a grease gun.
Yeah, I'll show them whenever we get there. I'll show you what I did.
Okay, very cool. And you also remember, parts on a Ferrari aren't 20 bucks. Everything's going to be 500 and a grand and 1,500. It adds up so fast. So, is the car worth it? Absolutely, 100% it is worth it. You're going to get to go front to back on this car. That's what's really cool, huh?
Yeah, it's a nice example, so it deserves it.
It definitely deserves every penny. Let's head on over to the table where the calipers are and show you what we had to do to get that taken care of. So we have the front calipers, the rear calipers, but you have all the pistons out, huh?
Yes.
And how they were stuck so bad, you don't really take them apart and get the pistons out. How did you get them out?
So yeah, usually these were actually fine. These weren't stuck. Obviously they're a little bit corroded, but these you can usually just, you know, put a little bit of air right here and it'll pop the pistons out pretty easy, nothing crazy. Now, these ones right here, these rear ones, they were seized. We couldn't move the car, so this one, air wouldn't work. So I actually had to use a grease gun, which is funny because the output of the grease gun, the fitting fits perfectly in there, and then just pump some grease, you know, and it pops the pistons out. It doesn't matter how stuck they are because that grease gun has a lot of pressure behind it. But yeah, that's the way that I was able to pop them out. And if you look on this one over here, I still have some grease in it. They are a pain to clean, but you can see there's a little bit of grease in them still. And all we got to do is a new seal kit, clean the bores, and put the pistons back in. That's it, and they'll be fine.
So basically, you converted them into a hydraulic press, but the press was pushing itself out.
Yes.
Yeah. So the pistons are fine. They're clean. They're not scored or damaged.
They actually look really good. They're in really good condition. So just a little bit of a cleanup, and they can go back in.
Awesome. So new seals, and these will be back in business.
Yes, sir.
Typically, we would not rebuild calipers on a car, on a common everyday car, because you can get a new caliper cheaper than fixing it. That is not going to be the case on one of these.
Not at all.
These are thousands of dollars to get these calipers, so we can rebuild them and reuse them. It'll be totally usable. But you found something here.
Yes, the same day the car came in, I decided to take a peek, and then I found that it actually caught fire.
At some point, it must have backfired because of the fuel system issue and actually caught the air filter on fire.
Luckily, it put itself out.
Yeah, I'm very glad about that. That would have been a terrible loss if it caught the car on fire. So where is the air filter actually located, Daniel?
It's well, it's inside this box, and then this box is located right behind those fuel distributors that we were talking about in the engine bay.
Okay, so kind of in the center, in the back of the engine area.
Yes.
Let's head on back to the Testarossa itself. So one of the things to keep in mind is it's easy to get a list together and think, okay, that's all we're going to need. But once you get the engine out, we don't know what we're going to find.
Yes, usually with these, it's like you start replacing seals, and then like the water pump, that's not included in the major service, but we're adding it because, you know, since we're there, get it done. They leak, you have to take the engine out to replace it. Might as well do it now that the engine's coming out.
Right, there'd be gaskets and see, like you just mentioned, all those things. And we might get it apart and say, oh wow, we didn't see that this was corroded or this hose was broken. We didn't even know it. And it just keeps adding and adding and adding. This is why when you talk to the customer, you'll say, maybe it might be $5,000, maybe it might be 10. You just go ahead and get a full okay for a large amount of money. We may not reach to that point. We may exceed it. We don't know, but now we have the okay from the customer. He's fully understanding. We were upfront with the customer. We have full transparency about exactly what's going to happen here, what's expected, and how far it could go. So he's happy, we're happy, now we can dive in. So once we get it all up and running, then there's more to it. There's another phase, isn't there?
Yeah, phase 2.
Phase 2. Oh, the dollars keep adding up now. Phase 2. And what's going to be part of phase 2?
Well, this car came in here and it doesn't run, so I don't know if the AC is working, if the charging system is working, so all the fuel pumps are working. I don't know.
Those are some things we'll find out once it's back together. Phase 2 could add 25-30% to the bill. But definitely, I'm glad we have the okay, because we can go through all this thing, and when we're done, you'll have a beautiful car that's ready to roll, ready to run. And I know you're going to enjoy driving this thing, huh?
Well, working on it more than driving it.
Yeah.
Not the best driving Ferrari out there.
Yeah, but it's definitely going to sound amazing. We'll let you guys hear it once we get it all done, but let's let Mrs. Wizard jump in and show you guys inside the immaculate interior. Only 6,000 miles on this thing.
Okay, ladies and gents, so how do we get into here? Let me show you. Right there. Let's hop in. Look at that odometer. It says 5,999 point, I would say 9. Yes, it is virtually at 6,000. It's just about to turn to 6,000. Let's get our light uncovered so you can see everything a little bit better. Everything is in Dayglow orange, 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 and orange. So I don't like orange if you want to see these gauge clusters. But again, love that. Love the speedometer. It goes up to 200 miles an hour. And look at that tachometer. It goes to 10,000 and red lines at 7,000. That's just insane. Love it. The only other gauges we have are for our temperature and for our oil pressure. Pretty simple. Some simple little lights that can illuminate, but that's it. Everything is in perfect condition. It has 6,000 miles. That's it. So nothing is wrong. Nothing is broken. Not even a stitch. Look at the stitching on there. This is beautiful coffee colored leather. Everything is wrapped beautifully. This section opens. Let's open up our first hardy hole. And we have the stereo. Yes. Looking good. I love that it has a little handle here to help you pull it out. We have a few more gauges as well. We have a very simple clock. We have our water temperature and our fuel gauge down there. This one does have a gated shifter that goes beyond just forward and backward, like the little baby one we saw at the beginning. Here we have a lovely 5-speed gated shifter. I love these little push buttons. So you push and you want to stop, you push stop, and then it goes back up. It does it to each of them. Lovely. I love this center section here. Here we have our control for our mirrors, our windows, our HVAC system. Very cool. It has auto seatbelts, and this one just happens to be unplugged at the moment, because that would be kind of annoying as you're trying to work on it, having that go on. But here we go. We can see that it is ready to go for that passenger as it can ride the rail there on that window. But you can see our door card is in really great shape. Has camel leather with more of our coffee colored leather with a little bit of the camel colored carpet as well. As we move to our floor, you'll see, look at that floor mat. It is in perfect condition. No footprints, no scuffs. There's not even a bit of dust on it. And look at that stitching on the embroidery for Ferrari. Our seats are, of course, more camel leather, great bolster on the sides, and has a little bit of a shelf here to adjust so you can support your legs as needed. Here's our back shelf, and it literally is just a small shelf, and you can see it has straps here that would have held the factory luggage that you would have been able to purchase as an option when you bought this car new. So there's a strap on each side as well. You can see back there the engine because the deck lid is still open. Okay. So here you are, ladies and gents, aiming up at the steering wheel, and we have one very tiny center little section here, and you can see it is for the horn there. We can see that lovely prancing pony in the center of our 3-spoke steering wheel here. Nothing fancy going on here because this is a fun car to drive. No cruise control, no other buttons for the radio. It's just driving. Enough of this interior talk. Let's see what the rest of the plans are for this car.
So obviously we have our work cut out for us, and it's not going to be cheap. Customer is very understanding, very happy to do business with them, very happy we can get this restored and taken care of for them. This is not a job that you send someone to learn on. This is a job that you send to someone like Daniel, who has spent years in a Ferrari dealership and has personally been through these cars already. So he knows what he's doing, he knows what to expect, and he knows what are the common failures, what can we look for while we have it apart. So we can address those issues while it's apart. Definitely wanted to give you guys a video to show you what does a Testarossa look like? What does it look like when you start opening things up on it? And if you want to follow along on some of the repairs, actually pulling the engine out, you've got your own channel.
Yeah, so I'll be actually going through the car, you know, fixing it and stuff like that. And I will be posting videos on the repairs on my channel so you guys can kind of get an idea of what fixing a Ferrari looks like.
So definitely check, there's a link in the description to Danielson's channel. There's other videos he's got going on there as well, but you'll want to keep up with what's going on with this car. Some of the more details of actually dropping the engine out and things of that nature, which would be very cool to see. But glad we could get a video in firsthand so you can see the pre-condition of what we've got to work with, what's it going to take to get it right, and we're going to do a video once it's all done showing how it sounds, what we had to go through, what we did find, and kind of what the total bill was. If you're curious what kind of tools we're going to use to work on this thing or any other car in the shop, check our Amazon affiliates link in the description below. If you purchase anything, we get a small cut. Check out Danielson's channel in the link below. Check out Mrs. Wizard's channel. She has her own channel as well, and a lot of great videos there. There's a link below for that as well. And make sure to hit the subscribe button here because there's many more cars in the shop, which are videos for you guys. Thanks for watching.